They invited me to dinner on a cold Friday evening. The kind of invitation that looks polite on the surface, but feels sharp underneath if you know your family well enough. The message came from my mother, short and carefully worded. Family dinner this Friday. We haven't all been together in a while. No heart emoji. No warmth. Just obligation dressed up as kindness. I almost said no. For years, dinners like this had followed the same pattern. I would arrive hopeful, telling myself maybe this time will be different, and I would leave smaller than when I came, carrying words that clung to me for weeks. My family had a way of smiling while cutting deep. Still, something in me wanted closure. Or maybe I just wanted proof that I wasn't imagining the cruelty. So I went. The house looked exactly the same, as it always had: warm lights glowing through the windows, the smell of roasted meat in the air, laughter already spilling out before I even rang the bell. My brother opened the door, glanced at me, and smirked. "You actually came," he said. That should have been my first sign to turn around. Inside, the table was already set. Candles, wine glasses, everything arranged like a picture-perfect family gathering. My mother barely looked up from the kitchen when I walked in. "You're late," she said, though I was right on time. I apologized anyway. Old habits die hard. We sat down. My father cleared his throat and started talking about his recent golf trip. My brother chimed in with stories about his promotion. My sister-in-law laughed too loudly at everything he said. No one asked how I was. No one ever did. Halfway through the meal, my mother finally turned to me. "So," she said, folding her napkin carefully, "what are you doing these days?" The way she said it made my chest tighten. Not curiosity. Assessment. "I'm working," I replied calmly. My brother laughed. "Working?" He took a sip of wine. "Doing what? Still bouncing between things?" My mother smiled thinly. "We just worry about you," she said. "You've always been unfocused." There it was. I nodded. "I'm doing fine." My brother leaned back in his chair. "Fine isn't exactly impressive, is it?" He looked around the table. "We only invited you out of pity. Don't stay long." The words hit the table like a dropped plate. For a moment, the room went quiet. My sister-in-law covered her mouth, pretending to be shocked, but her eyes were gleaming. My father didn't say a word. My mother didn't correct him. Instead, she nodded. "We thought it might be nice," she said, "for you to feel included. But let's be honest, this isn't really your world anymore." I felt something shift inside me then. Not pain, not anger. Clarity. I realized I had spent years trying to earn love from people who thrived on withholding it. And suddenly, their words lost their power. I smiled. Not the tight, defensive smile I usually wore. A real one. "I appreciate the invitation," I said softly. My brother raised an eyebrow. "That's it." I picked up my glass, took a slow sip of my drink, set it down carefully, and stood up. "I won't stay long," I said, echoing his words. My mother looked startled. "You're leaving already?" "Yes." No drama, no argument. I picked up my coat and walked out while they were still processing what had just happened. I didn't cry in the car. I didn't scream. I just drove home, breathing steadily, feeling lighter with every mile. They thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. What my family never understood was that I had always been quiet for a reason. Silence gave me room to observe, to plan, to wait. They didn't know that years ago, when my grandfather fell ill, I was the one who sat with him every evening after work. I was the one who managed his medications, his paperwork, his appointments. I was the one who listened when he talked about mistakes he'd made with his children, about how money had twisted everything. They were too busy to notice. Before he passed, He trusted me with things they never asked about. Documents, accounts, responsibilities. Not because I demanded them, but because I showed up. After that dinner, I didn't call anyone. I didn't post anything. I went on with my life exactly as before. And then, 1 week later, the first bank statement arrived. It didn't go to me. It went to my mother. She stared at the numbers in confusion. Then fear. Because the joint accounts, the ones she and my father treated like personal spending pools, were frozen pending review. The family cabin? Listed for sale under a trust they no longer controlled. My brother's confident phone calls to the bank were met with polite, unyielding responses. You're no longer authorized on this account. Panic spread fast in a family used to control. That was when my phone started ringing. I didn't answer. Messages piled up. Missed calls, voicemails. My mother's tone shifted from irritation to desperation in less than 24 hours. We need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. You wouldn't do this to family. But I had already done it. And this time, I didn't feel guilty. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't reacting. I was finishing something I should have done years ago. I let the phone ring until it stopped. Then again, and again. By the third day, my mother stopped pretending this was a simple banking error. The messages changed. They weren't commands anymore. They were questions. Fear does that to people. It strips authority fast. My brother showed up at my apartment unannounced on the 4th day. I watched him through the peephole before opening the door. His shoulders were tense. His confidence so loud at the dinner table was gone. You did this, he said the second I opened the door. I stepped aside. Come in. That surprised him. He had expected resistance, anger, maybe tears. Instead, he found calm. He paced my living room like a caged animal. The accounts are frozen. The cabin sale is real. Dad's furious. Mom's not sleeping. What did you tell the bank? I didn't tell them anything, I replied. He spun toward me. Don't lie. I'm not, I said. I didn't have to. He stared, trying to piece it together. Then how? I walked to the desk drawer and pulled out a thin folder. Nothing dramatic. Just paper. You remember Grandpa, I said. He scoffed. What does that have to do with? I was his legal representative, I continued. Medical. Financial. Everything. He updated the trust 2 years before he died. My brother's face drained of color. That's impossible, he whispered. No, I said. It was necessary. I laid the documents on the table, but didn't push them toward him. He left oversight authority to me, I said. Not ownership. Oversight. Which means when I saw irregular withdrawals, misuse of shared assets, and undocumented transfers, I was legally obligated to act. You reported us, he hissed. I protected the estate, I corrected. He sank onto the couch. You did this because of dinner? I shook my head slowly. Dinner was just confirmation. He laughed bitterly. You always play the victim. I met his eyes. You always mistake silence for weakness. He left without another word. That night, my father called. His voice was different. Older, smaller. You embarrassed us, he said. You embarrassed yourselves, I replied. There was a long pause. What do you want? He finally asked. I already have it, I said. Peace. The legal process moved faster than they expected. Because unlike them, I had prepared. Every document was clean. Every decision justified. No revenge. Just consequence. The cabin sold within 2 weeks. The funds were placed into a restricted account controlled by the trust. No single family member could access it freely anymore. Joint accounts were permanently closed. My mother tried once more, showing up at my door with red eyes and trembling hands. "We're family," she said. "You don't do this to family." I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time without hoping she'd change. "Family doesn't invite someone to dinner just to mock them," I said quietly. She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. There was nothing left to say. I didn't win everything, and I didn't take everything. I took something better: control over my own life. A month later, I heard through distant relatives that my brother had taken a loan to maintain appearances. My parents downsized. Conversations became careful, measured. They learned something they should have known all along. You don't get to humiliate someone forever without consequences. As for me, I stopped attending dinners where love was conditional. I stopped explaining myself to people who never listened. I stopped shrinking. The silence that followed wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. And the last bank statement that arrived, it came to me, not as a victory, but as a reminder that walking away with dignity is sometimes the most powerful move of all.